The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with the quiet conversations of 100 different species. Light from 3 suns streamed through the crystal dome overhead, casting colorful patterns across the polished stone floor. At the center of the chamber stood Grand Admiral Zulnar, his violet scales gleaming as he gestured to the holographic display of a small blue planet. "This," he announced, "is our next conquest." The gathered representatives fell silent. Some leaned forward with interest, others exchanged skeptical glances. "Sol 3, Zulnar continued. "The natives call it Earth, a backwater world rich in resources inhabited by a species that has barely mastered basic space travel." The Admiral's clawed finger traced the outline of the continents projected in the air. Water covers most of the surface. Abundant minerals in the crust. Atmosphere rich in nitrogen and oxygen. Perfect for conversion to a resource world for the Dracovian Empire. Counselor Mila, an ancient Solarian whose body seemed composed of glowing blue tendrils, raised her hand. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes. "Admiral Zulnar, have your scouts thoroughly studied the inhabitants? I believe they call themselves humans." The Admiral flicked his tail dismissively. "Of course, they are primitive. They fight constantly among themselves over territory, resources, and beliefs. Their technology is rudimentary. They have visited their own moon a few times but have barely explored their own solar system." He touched a control on his wrist and the hologram changed to show images of human cities, vehicles, and military equipment. Their weapons are based on simple chemical explosives and basic projectiles. Their most advanced aircraft can barely reach 3 times the speed of sound. Their ships float on water rather than through space. The Dracovian's mouth formed what passed for a smile among his kind. "They will make excellent servants once tamed." In a shadowy corner of the chamber, a figure shifted slightly. William Carter, Earth's first diplomat to the Galactic Council, listened carefully. As an observer, he had no voting rights and was often overlooked during these sessions. At 42, with graying hair at his temples and an unremarkable build, he blended easily into the background. This worked to his advantage. Carter tapped a small device hidden in his palm, recording every word. "When do you propose to begin this invasion?" asked Counselor Drath, a hulking creature whose body seemed composed of living stone. 3 standard rotations from now," Zulnar replied. "We have assembled an armada of 500 warships. Each carries sufficient troops to secure major population centers. We estimate complete control within 1 planetary rotation." Drath rumbled with amusement. "So quick? Do you remember the Arcturian resistance? That took 3 years to suppress." "The Arcturians had advanced energy shields," Zulnar countered. "Humans have nothing comparable. Their militaries are divided by national boundaries. They have no unified defense strategy." In his corner, Carter's face remained calm, but his eyes narrowed slightly. He pressed another hidden control, sending an encrypted message to Earth. Counselor Mila was not satisfied. "Admiral, with respect, I suggest you study the humans more carefully before proceeding. Our historical records show they can be remarkably adaptive." Zulnar waved away her concern. "We have monitored their communications for 30 cycles. They are predictable and weak. When faced with superior force, they will surrender." "The Council will need to vote on this," said the High Chancellor, an ethereal being whose form shifted constantly between solid and gas. "Resource acquisition falls within approved Imperial activities, but the disposition of sentient species requires approval." "Of course, Chancellor." Zulnar bowed his head slightly. "But I remind the Council that the Dracovian Empire has rights to expansion under the Treaty of 7 Stars. Earth lies within our allocated sector." Carter watched as the Council members discussed among themselves. Few seemed concerned about Earth's fate. To them, humans were just another primitive species, one of thousands in the galaxy. When the voting began, Carter wasn't surprised by the result. 12 members voted to allow the invasion, with only Mila and 1 other voting against. The rest abstained, unwilling to challenge the powerful Dracovian Empire over such a minor matter. "It is decided," announced the High Chancellor. The Dracovian Empire may proceed with its acquisition of Sol 3, provided they follow standard protocols for the treatment of sentient species. Jolner bowed deeply. The Empire thanks the Council for its wisdom. We will broadcast standard surrender, terms before any military action. The humans will have the opportunity to accept Dracovian rule peacefully. As the meeting adjourned, Carter slipped out of the chamber and headed quickly to his small quarters in the diplomatic wing. Once inside, he activated a series of devices that scrambled any surveillance equipment, then opened a secure communication channel. General Miller, are you receiving? The screen flickered, then showed the face of Susan Miller, commander of Earth's newly formed Unified Defense Force. I'm here, Bill. How bad is it? They voted to let the Dracovians invade. 500 ships, ground troops, the works. They think we're helpless. Miller's mouth formed a tight line. Timeline? 3 days until they launch. Probably another 2 weeks before they reach Earth. That's not much time. Carter nodded. The good news is they're completely underestimating us. They think we're divided and primitive. Miller allowed herself a small smile. Perfect. Operation Welcoming Committee is ready. The underground bases are fully operational. The orbital platforms are in position and camouflaged. Admiral Patel has the submarine fleet on standby. What about our special weapons? The reverse-engineered technology is working better than expected. Dr. Gallagher's team completed the shield generators last month. The phase-shift missiles are ready, and our friends from Rigel delivered the last components for the energy cannons yesterday. Carter nodded, feeling a mix of tension and satisfaction. The Dracovians have no idea what they're walking into. The Pleiadians and Andromedans kept their word. No one in the Council knows about our alliances. What about Mila? She seemed concerned. She's suspicious but doesn't know anything concrete. Just an old species with good instincts. Miller looked down at something off-screen, then back at Carter. I've just given the order. All military forces worldwide are now at highest alert. Civilian evacuation protocols are ready if needed. Good. I'll maintain my cover here and keep you updated on their movements. Carter paused, then added, Do you think we're ready for this, Susan? Really ready? General Miller's expression was calm but determined. For 70 years since the first crash at Roswell, we've been preparing for this day. Everything we've built, all our secret technologies and alliances, it's all been for this moment. She straightened her shoulders. Humanity won't go quietly, Bill. The Dracovians think they're hunting us, but they're about to become the prey. After ending the transmission, Carter stood at the window of his quarters, looking out at the artificial stars of the Galactic Council station. Soon the Dracovian ships would be in motion, heading toward Earth with conquest in mind. They expected an easy victory. They had no idea what waited for them. The sky over New York City turned dark at exactly 9:17 in the morning. People stopped walking. Cars screeched to a halt. Every eye looked upward as enormous shadows blotted out the sun. The Dracovian warships hung in the air like metal mountains. Their hulls were dark purple, almost black, with glowing red lines running across their surfaces. The largest ship stretched nearly a mile from end to end. Similar scenes played out over Beijing, London, Moscow, Cairo, Tokyo, and 20 other major cities around the world. The invasion of Earth had begun. Inside the main Dracovian flagship, Grand Admiral Zulnar gazed down at the city through a viewing portal. Begin the announcement, he ordered. Commander Vrexus, his second-in-command, touched a control panel. Broadcasting on all Earth frequencies now, Admiral. All across the planet, electronic devices activated without their owner's control. Television screens, cell phones, computers, radios, all suddenly carried the same message. A reptilian face appeared, violet scales gleaming under harsh light. People of Earth? Jolnar's voice boomed in every language simultaneously. Your planet now belongs to the Dracovian Empire. Your technology is primitive. Your militaries are weak. Resistance would only lead to unnecessary suffering. Surrender your governments and resources, and you may continue to exist under our benevolent rule. The message played 3 times, then the screens returned to normal. Zulnar turned to Vrexus. Begin landing preparations. Deploy scout ships to assess military responses. Yes, Admiral, Rexus said, but his expression showed concern. Something seems unusual, Admiral. Explain. Our sensors are detecting strange patterns of movement. The humans are not panicking as expected. They appear to be evacuating in an organized manner. Zulnar waved a clawed hand dismissively. Some of their governments may have emergency protocols. It makes no difference. On the streets below, the evacuation was indeed proceeding with surprising order. Police directed traffic. Buses loaded with people moved along designated routes. Electronic signs that normally showed advertisements now displayed evacuation instructions. Jane Wilson, a schoolteacher, led her class of third graders onto a waiting bus. The children were scared but followed her instructions perfectly. They had practiced this drill monthly since the beginning of the school year. Remember your buddy system, Jane reminded them calmly. Just like we practiced. One little boy looked up at her. Ms. Wilson, are those the aliens from the drills? She nodded. Yes, Sam, but don't worry. The soldiers will protect us. The boy didn't look worried. Instead, he smiled. My mom helps build the big guns. She says they'll be sorry they came here. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Susan Miller watched wall-sized screens showing feeds from around the world. Military personnel from dozens of nations worked at control stations, their movements precise and confident. Miller turned to her second-in-command, Colonel Frank Harris. Status? Civilian evacuations at 82% completion, Harris reported. All military units in position, orbital platforms armed and ready, submarine fleet in position, underground bases fully operational. Miller nodded and picked up a secure phone. This is General Miller. Phase 1 complete, execute Phase 2. Around the world, hidden installations hummed to life. In the Nevada desert, massive doors slid open in what appeared to be empty land, revealing launch sites. Deep in the Amazon rainforest, what seemed to be an ordinary research station, transformed as camouflage panels retracted to expose defense systems. In orbit, several weather satellites suddenly changed position, their outer shells falling away, to reveal weapons platforms. On the Dracovian flagship, alarms began to sound. Admiral, Rexus called out, his voice tight with surprise. We're detecting energy signatures everywhere. They're activating weapons. Zulnar rushed to the main control panel. Impossible. Our scouts reported no such technology. The signatures don't match known human technology, Rexus said. These are comparable to Arcturian defense systems. Launch fighters, Zulnar ordered. Begin the landings immediately. The sides of the Dracovian ships opened and smaller craft poured out. They descended toward key targets, military bases, government buildings, power plants. But as they approached, they met unexpected resistance. Energy beams shot up from hidden ground installations. Several fighter craft exploded instantly. From the ocean's surface, what had appeared to be ordinary naval vessels suddenly revealed advanced weapons systems. From beneath the waves, missiles erupted, trailing blue fire as they locked onto Dracovian. Tarsul, in the command center, General Miller watched the first counterattacks with grim satisfaction. Send the message, she ordered. On the Dracovian flagship, a communication officer reported, Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Show me, Zulnar demanded. The screen showed General Miller, her uniform bearing insignia, from multiple Earth nations. This is General Susan Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. Your invasion of our sovereign planet constitutes an act of war. We have prepared for this possibility for decades. You are outmatched. Withdraw immediately, or face destruction. Zulnar hissed in anger. United Earth Defense Force? Our intelligence indicated no such organization. It was hidden, Admiral, Rexus said quietly. Along with these weapons. A massive explosion rocked the flagship. Zulnar grabbed a console. To steady himself, what was that? Direct hit to our lower hull, reported a tactical officer. Unknown weapon type. It penetrated our shields as if they weren't there. Impossible. In space above Earth, the hidden orbital platforms had begun firing. Their weapons were unlike anything the Dracovians had expected. Combinations of Earth technology and designs from other alien civilizations. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, an emergency session had been called. The council members watched in shock as live feeds from the Dracovian fleet showed their ships under heavy attack. Councillor Mila turned to the High Chancellor. "I warned them to study the humans more carefully." William Carter entered the chamber, no longer hiding in shadows. He walked confidently to the center of the floor, drawing surprised looks from the council members. "Councilors," he said clearly, "I bring a message from Earth. For decades we have known we weren't alone. We found crashed alien ships. We captured scouts. We learned about the galaxy and the powers within it." He gestured to the screens showing the battle. "What you see is not just Earth technology. We've had help. Not all species believe in conquest. Some believe in balance and mutual respect." The High Chancellor's form swirled with agitation. What is he saying? Who has violated Council neutrality protocols? On a side screen, a Dracovian cruiser fell from the sky, trailing smoke and fire. Carter continued. "Earth is now formally announcing its presence as a spacefaring civilization. We seek peaceful relations with all species who respect our sovereignty." He looked directly at the Chancellor. "But we will defend ourselves with everything we have." As if to emphasize his point, another explosion lit up the screens, and the signal from one of the Dracovian ships went dead. The first Dracovian landing parties reached Earth's surface amid chaos. Their dropships, sleek black vessels built for rapid deployment, touched down in central parks and wide avenues of major cities. Armored soldiers poured out, weapons ready, expecting to face primitive human defenses. What they encountered instead shocked them to their core. In Washington, D.C., a Dracovian commander named Greklos led 50 elite troops toward the White House. They had advanced only 2 blocks when the street beneath them suddenly liquefied. The strange substance wasn't water or mud. It was a swarm of microscopic robots that clung to their armor, finding tiny gaps and infiltrating their systems. "What is this?" Greklos shouted as his suit's power flickered. "Fall back!" But it was too late. The nanobots had already disabled their weapons. From surrounding buildings, soldiers in powered armor suits emerged. Their armor wasn't bulky like the Dracovian battlesuits, but sleek and flexible. They moved with incredible speed. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Beijing, landing parties found themselves trapped in energy fields that hadn't been there seconds before. In Cairo, their dropships were disabled by pulses that seemed to come from nowhere. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Miller watched the battles unfold on multiple screens. "Phase 3 is working perfectly," reported Colonel Harris. "The Dracovians are completely unprepared for our countermeasures." Miller nodded. "Activate the orbital defense grid." In space, the hidden weapons platforms fully revealed themselves. What had appeared to be ordinary satellites suddenly joined together, forming a network of interconnected defense stations. They began firing concentrated energy beams at the Dracovian fleet. Chief Engineer Alan Peterson stood in a control room deep beneath the Nevada desert. Around him, technicians operated complex machinery that controlled the orbital grid. "Quantum disruption. Fields at full power," he announced, targeting their navigation systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. Dracovian ships began drifting, their engines and guidance systems scrambled by technology they'd never encountered before. In orbit, Captain Nicole Jenkins sat on the bridge of a vessel that, until today, no one outside a select few knew existed. The EDS Defender, Earth's first true battleship, emerged from its hiding place behind the moon, along with 20 similar vessels. "All ships report ready, Captain," her first officer said. Jenkins nodded. "Begin attack pattern Alpha. Target there. Command ships first." The Earth vessels moved with surprising speed and agility. Unlike the bulky Dracovian ships, they were sleek and maneuverable. They fired weapons that seemed impossible for primitive humans to possess. Phase-shifting missiles that passed through Dracovian shields as if they weren't there. Energy beams that cut through hull plating with ease. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the assembled representatives watched in stunned silence. The screen showed images of Dracovian forces retreating, their ships falling from the sky. William Carter stood calmly in the center of the chamber. "As you can see, counselors, Earth is not the primitive world you believed it to be. A representative from the Centaurian Confederacy rose to his feet. This is outrageous. The humans have clearly been given advanced technology in violation of Council protocols. 3 other council members stood then. Representatives from the Arcturian Coalition, the Pleiadian Union, and the Andromedan Alliance moved to stand beside Carter. We have indeed helped the humans, the Arcturian delegate admitted, but not in violation of any laws. Earth was not yet recognized as a developing world under Council protection. They were left vulnerable, prey for empires like the Dracovians. The Pleiadian representative, a tall being of almost pure light, added, "We saw in humans exceptional potential. Their adaptability, their creativity, their determination. These qualities are rare in the galaxy." The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. The High Chancellor called for order, his form shifting rapidly between states in agitation. "This is unprecedented," he declared when the noise finally subsided. 3 council races secretly aiding. An unknown species? Not unknown. The Andromedan delegate corrected. Underestimated. On Earth, Admiral Zulnar's flagship was in serious trouble. Half its systems were offline, its shields failing. Explosions rocked the massive vessel as Earth weapons found their mark. "We must retreat," Commander Vrexus urged. "We've lost 30% of our fleet already," Zulnar hissed in frustration. "How is this possible? Their weapons, their technology, none of this was in our intelligence reports." "Admiral," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from their command center." General Miller's face appeared on the screen. Behind her, humans worked efficiently at control stations. "Admiral Zulnar," she said, her voice level and calm, "your invasion has failed. You have 2 options. Surrender or retreat. If you choose to continue fighting, we will destroy your entire fleet." Zulnar's scales darkened with rage. "You dare threaten the Dracovian Empire? We have conquered 100 worlds." "But not Earth," Miller replied simply. "Make your choice, Admiral." As if to emphasize her point, another explosion shook the flagship. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Admiral," Vrexus said urgently, "our engines are failing. We're losing altitude." In the Nevada Control Center, Alan Peterson monitored the flagship's descent. "We've got them. Their power core is destabilizing, but not critically. They'll crash but survive." "Where will they land?" asked his assistant. Peterson checked his instruments. "Australian outback. Perfect. Minimal population, maximum isolation. Recovery teams are already on the way." The massive Dracovian flagship, once a symbol of the Empire's might, now spiraled toward Earth, trailing smoke and debris. Smaller Earth vessels escorted it down, ensuring it wouldn't crash into populated areas. In the Galactic Council chamber, William Carter watched alongside the other representatives as the Dracovian forces began a disorganized retreat. Those still capable of spaceflight were limping away from Earth. Others had surrendered, their crews being taken into custody by Earth forces. "This changes everything," the High Chancellor said quietly. "A new power has emerged in the galaxy, seemingly overnight." Carter shook his head. "Not overnight, Chancellor. For decades we've been preparing, learning, building. Today we simply revealed ourselves." He looked around at the stunned faces of the council members. "Earth is open to peaceful relations with all civilizations. We seek trade, cultural exchange, and scientific collaboration. But let me be perfectly clear." He paused, making eye contact with several representatives before continuing. "Earth is protected. Any future attempts at invasion will meet the same fate as the Dracovians." The message was clear. The galaxy had a new player, and they were more powerful than anyone had imagined. The Australian outback burned under the midday sun. Heat waves rose from the red Earth as recovery teams approached the crashed Dracovian flagship. The massive ship had carved a mile-long scar in the landscape. Parts of its hull still smoked from entry into the atmosphere. Earth forces surrounded the crash site. Soldiers in advanced armor stood alert, weapons ready. Scientists in specialized suits took readings of the area. Medical teams waited nearby, prepared for both human and alien casualties. Inside the wreckage, Admiral Zulnar pushed debris off his body and struggled to his feet. Around him, surviving crew members tended to the wounded. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow throughout the command center. "Status report," Zulnar demanded, his voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. Commander Vrexus limped forward. "Admiral, all systems are down. Life support is running on backup power. We have many wounded but few dead. Communications? Offline. We cannot contact the rest of the fleet," Zulnar hissed in frustration. "And the humans? They've surrounded us. Our sensors detect advanced weapons aimed at the ship." A loud, metallic groan echoed through the vessel as something cut through the hull. Minutes later, Earth soldiers poured into the command center, their weapons trained on the Dracovian crew. General Susan Miller entered last, flanked by security officers. She walked directly to Zulnar, stopping a few feet from the towering reptilian. "Admiral, Zulnar, you and your crew are now prisoners of Earth. You will be treated according to interstellar conventions on warfare. Medical attention will be provided to all wounded." Zulnar's scales darkened with rage. "How is this possible? You're supposed to be primitives." Miller's expression remained calm. "That was your first mistake. You believed your own propaganda." She gestured around them. "We've had visitors before you, Admiral. Some came in peace and became allies. Others came with intentions like yours. All underestimated us." Zulnar was led away with the rest of his crew. As they emerged from the ship, into the harsh sunlight, he saw the full extent of the Earth forces. Advanced aircraft hovered overhead. Ground vehicles unlike any he had seen in his intelligence reports stood ready. And most shocking of all, he saw beings that were clearly not human, working alongside Earth soldiers. At the same time, around the world, the remaining Dracovian forces were being rounded up. Some had surrendered immediately when their command ships fell. Others fought briefly before being overwhelmed by Earth's unexpectedly advanced weapons. In orbit, Captain Nicole Jenkins coordinated the pursuit of fleeing Dracovian vessels. Her fleet had grown to 40 ships as more Earth vessels emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a message from Dracovian High Command. They're requesting a ceasefire to negotiate the return of their forces." Jenkins smiled slightly. "Inform General Miller. Continue pursuit but hold fire unless the Dracovians show hostile intent." In the Galactic Council chamber, the emergency session had lasted for hours. Representatives from dozens of worlds argued fiercely about what Earth's emergence meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. William Carter stood with the delegates from Earth's secret allies, the Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Andromedans. They watched as the council representatives shouted over each other. "They fear you," the Arcturian delegate said quietly to Carter. "Fear leads to poor decisions." Carter nodded. "Which is why we need to reassure them. Earth has no interest in conquest." The High Chancellor finally restored order. "We will hear now from the human representative," he announced. Carter stepped forward. "Thank you, Chancellor. I understand the Council's concern. The sudden appearance of a new power, especially one with our level of technology, is unsettling." Paused, making eye contact with several representatives. "But Earth's goals are peaceful. We seek to join the galactic community as equals, not conquerors. We defended ourselves against aggression, nothing more." "You possessed hidden technology," the Centaurian representative accused. "You deceived the Council." "We concealed our capabilities." "Yes," Carter acknowledged. "Given today's events, I believe that was wise. Had the Dracovians known our true strength, they might have sent an even larger force, resulting in more destruction and loss of life." The Solarian counselor Mila drifted forward, her glowing tendrils pulsing gently. "I believe we should focus now on stabilizing this situation. The Dracovian Empire has requested negotiations. Earth has proven itself capable of defending its interests. The question before us is, how do we integrate Earth into the existing galactic framework?" On Earth, Admiral Zulnar sat in a holding cell. It was comfortable enough. The humans had respected his physical needs with appropriate temperature and lighting. But his mind was in turmoil. How had everything gone so wrong? The door opened, and General Miller entered with 2 guards. She sat across from him at a small table. "Admiral, representatives from your government have contacted us. They wish to negotiate your release and the return of your surviving forces." Julnar's eyes narrowed. "The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species." Miller smiled thinly. "I believe they've reconsidered that policy." She placed a tablet on the table showing footage from the battle. Dracovian ships falling from the sky. Earth vessels moving with impossible speed and agility. Weapons that shouldn't exist in the hands of humans. "How?" he demanded. "How did you do this?" "Humanity has a unique quality," Miller explained. "Throughout our history, we've imagined endless scenarios of alien contact in our literature, our entertainment, our scientific discussions. When the first real evidence arrived decades ago, we were ready, not just mentally, but emotionally." She leaned forward. "While your empire saw us as primitives to be conquered, others saw potential allies. They didn't give us their technology. They helped us develop our own, based on universal principles your scientists understand but apparently never shared with your military." Julnar looked away, his pride wounded. "The Empire will not forget this humiliation." "It wasn't meant to humiliate you," Miller said. "It was meant to protect ourselves. But consider this. Today you learned something valuable about humanity. We aren't what you thought we were." In the Nevada Control Center, Alan Peterson watched as technicians examined captured Dracovian equipment. Engineers were already identifying components that could be reverse engineered, systems that could be improved upon. "We just jumped ahead another 20 years, he told his team. "Their shield technology is interesting, not as advanced as ours in some ways, but they have innovations we haven't tried." One of the engineers looked up. "So we did it? We successfully defended Earth?" Peterson nodded. "This time. But the galaxy knows about us now. No more hiding, no more pretending to be primitive. From today forward, we take our place among the stars." Across Earth, civilians were returning to their homes as the immediate danger passed. News channels broadcast the first official images of alien species, not just the defeated Dracovians, but Earth's allies as well. For humanity, everything had changed. They were no longer alone in the universe. They were no longer hiding. They had proven themselves against one of the galaxy's most powerful empires, and the rest of the galaxy was watching closely to see what they would do next. 3 months passed since the failed Dracovian invasion. Earth had changed in ways both subtle and profound. Alien technology was no longer hidden. Species from across the galaxy established diplomatic relations with humanity. The night sky looked different too, as Earth's defense fleet now openly patrolled the solar system. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with anticipation. Today marked a historic occasion, Earth's formal recognition as a spacefaring civilization. The chamber had been expanded to include a new section for Earth's delegation. William Carter led the human representatives into the chamber. He was joined by General Susan Miller, Alan Peterson, Captain Nicole Jenkins, and several other key figures from Earth's defense and scientific communities. They walked with confidence to their newly assigned seats. The High Chancellor's form swirled at the center of the chamber, finally settling into a mostly solid state. This special session of the Galactic Council is now in session. Today, we formally welcome the representatives of Earth as full members of this body. Applause echoed through the chamber. Though some representatives remained silent, their postures showing clear discomfort with this new arrangement. Carter stepped forward to address the Council. "On behalf of Earth, I thank the Council for this recognition. The past 3 months have been transformative for my planet. What was once hidden is now in the open. The people of Earth have embraced their place in the galactic community with enthusiasm and hope." He paused, looking around the chamber. "The Dracovian Empire has withdrawn its forces from our solar system and signed a non-aggression pact. Their remaining ships have returned to their territory." The Centaurian representative leaned forward. "And what of their admiral, the one captured during the battle?" "Admiral Julnar has been released to his people," General Miller answered, "as part of our agreement with the Dracovian Empire." What Miller didn't mention was the profound effect Earth had on the Admiral. Before his release, Zulnar had spent weeks studying human history and culture. He had been particularly fascinated by how quickly humans adapted to new situations, how they turned disadvantages into strengths. In his final meeting with Miller before departing, he had made a surprising admission. "Your species is unlike any we have encountered. You prepare for threats before they arrive. You imagine dangers and create solutions for problems you have not yet faced." His scales had shifted to a thoughtful blue color. "The Empire has much to learn from Earth." Now in the council chamber, Carter continued his address. "Earth's defense fleet maintains control of our solar system. We have established mutual defense, agreements with the Arcturians, Pleiadians, and Andromedans." He didn't need to mention that Earth had also detected 3 other invasion forces considering Earth as a target. All had mysteriously changed course after observing what happened to the Dracovians. "Earth is open to peaceful relations with all civilizations," Carter said. "We seek trade, cultural exchange, and scientific collaboration. But let us be perfectly clear. Earth is protected." The message was simple but powerful. Earth would not be an easy target for any future aggressor. After the formal ceremony, the Solarian counselor Mila approached General Miller in a quiet corner of the chamber. "You knew this day would come," she said, her glowing tendrils pulsing with curiosity. Miller nodded. "Humanity has been preparing for centuries. Our literature, our films, our games, they weren't just entertainment. They were preparation." "Preparation for what exactly?" Mila asked. "For anything," Miller replied. "Invasion, first contact, technological exchange. We imagined every scenario we could think of. When the first real aliens arrived, we were mentally ready." "The crash at Roswell?" Mila guessed. Miller smiled but didn't confirm or deny. "Let's just say we've had visitors for longer than most realize. Some came by accident, some by design. We learned from each encounter." Meanwhile, Captain Jenkins showed a group of alien delegates through Earth's flagship, the EDS Defender. The visitors marveled at the ship's design, clearly seeing influences from multiple species combined with unique human innovations. "Your weapon systems integrate Arcturian energy principles with Pleiadian targeting technology," noted a Rigelian engineer. "Yet the control systems are unlike anything I've seen." Jenkins nodded. "We learned the universal principles from our allies, but the applications are our own. Humans have always been good at taking existing ideas and finding new ways to use them." In the Nevada Research Facility, Alan Peterson supervised the integration of newly shared technologies. Scientists from Earth worked alongside visitors from friendly species, exchanging knowledge and techniques. "The quantum communication network is online," announced one of his assistants. "We now have instant communication with our allies across 50 light years." Peterson looked at the display showing a map of nearby star systems. Decades ago, such a map would have shown only empty space with a few points of light. Now it displayed hundreds of inhabited worlds, trade routes, and diplomatic connections. "We've come a long way in a short time," he mused. In the observation gallery of the Galactic Council chamber, a young human diplomat named Daniel Wright watched the proceedings with interest. He had just joined Earth's diplomatic corps after the invasion, part of the first generation who would grow up knowing about humanity's place in the galaxy. He made notes in his journal. Day 1 of humanity's official entry into galactic politics. "They still don't understand us. They think our strength is in our weapons, our new ships, our alliances. They're wrong." He paused, watching as Carter negotiated trade agreements with representatives from 3 different star systems. "Our strength has always been that we imagined this day would come, in 1,000 different ways, and we were ready for all of them. We turned our fears into preparation. We converted our nightmares into defense plans. We transformed our dreams of the stars into reality." Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. Earth was not to be trifled with. The planet that everyone had dismissed as primitive had become one of the most formidable powers in the known universe. Not through conquest, but through preparation, adaptation, and the uniquely human talent for turning adversity into advantage. The Q. Message was clear to every spacefaring civilization. Earth was now a player on the galactic stage. Those who came in peace would find willing partners and friends. Those who came seeking conquest would meet the same fate as the Dracovians. And in the great void between the stars, other eyes watched with interest. Some with curiosity, some with caution, and some, inevitably, with the mistaken belief that they could succeed where the Dracovians had failed. But Earth would be ready for them too. After all, humanity had been preparing for such challenges for centuries, in their stories, in their imaginations, and now in reality.